In the 1980s, sociologist Ray Oldenburg coined the term the third space. If your first space is your home and your second space is your work or school, the third space is everywhere else. It's the anchor of community life, the local pub, the post office turned general store, the town square. But if you've been on the internet lately, specifically the corners of the internet occupied by women, Gen Z girls, and tired millennials, you'll notice a recurring lament. Where the hell are we supposed to go? Today, we're talking about the disappearing third space, why its collapse is uniquely impacting women and girls, and how the feminization of public space has been replaced by a monetization of our very existence. To understand where we are, we have to look at where we were. For the 90s and early 2000s girl, the third space was undisputed, the mall. Now, I know, the mall is a temple to capitalism, but for teenage girls, it was something more. It was the only place where you could exist outside the gaze of your parents without being in trouble. You could spend 6 hours at a Claire's at a food court sharing one order of fries, and as long as you had a glittery shopping bag, you were a legitimate citizen of that space. But as the retail apocalypse hit, these spaces died, and they weren't replaced by parks or community centers. They were replaced by nothing, or worse, luxury mixed-use developments. Today, if a woman wants to exist outside her home, she usually has to pay for the privilege. Think about the modern female third spaces. It's the $7 oat milk latte at a cafe with Live, Laugh, Love signage. It's the $35 Pilates class. It's the wine bar. These aren't third spaces in the Oldenburg sense. They are consumption venues. Oldenburg's criteria for a third space included being leveling, meaning your economic status shouldn't matter. But modern female spaces are aggressively tiered. If you go to a coffee shop to read, there is a silent ticking clock above your head. You are renting that chair with your latte. The moment that cup is empty, you are no longer a community member. You are a squatter. For girls, this is even more precarious. If you're 16 and don't have $10 for a seasonal drink, where do you go? Libraries are amazing, and we love a library, but they are quiet spaces. Where do girls go to be loud, to be messy, to just be? We also have to talk about the Wing. Remember the Wing? The all-women's social club that promised utopia for the girl boss era? The Wing failed for many reasons, internal politics, inclusivity issues, but it represented a terrifying trend, the commodification of sisterhood. It suggested that if you wanted a safe space to be around other women, you had to pay a monthly subscription fee. We've shifted from the Commons, space owned by everyone, to the Club, space owned by a corporation that grants you access based on your credit score. It turns out, when you turn hanging out into a business model, the hanging out part becomes very, very filtered. You're not meeting a diverse cross-section of your neighborhood, you're meeting people who can afford the same membership tier as you. This isn't community building, it's networking in a trench coat. In the absence of physical spaces, girls have migrated almost entirely into digital third spaces, TikTok, Discord, and Pinterest. Now, the internet can be a lifeline, but as a third space, it's a bit of a trap. In a physical space, like a park or a library, you have what sociologists call passive sociability. You see the same people, you have low-stakes interactions, and you realize that people are human and multifaceted. But in the digital space, everything is performative. Because there is no physical bench to just sit on, girlhood has been repackaged into a series of core aesthetics: coquette core, clean girl, mob wife. Without a physical space to just exist, girls are pressured to curate their existence. You aren't just a girl sitting on a park bench, you are a main character in a digital narrative. The lack of a physical third space has turned social life into a 24/7 content production cycle. The food court has been traded for an algorithm, and the algorithm doesn't care about community, it cares about retention. We also have to address the reality of why these spaces are so hard to find, the safety paradox. A huge reason women don't utilize public plazas as much as men is the threat of the gaze. Public spaces are often designed by people who don't have to navigate the world worrying about being catcalled or followed. If a park has poor lighting, no visible exits, or feels isolated, it isn't a third space for a girl, it's a gauntlet. Then there's the issue of hostile architecture. You've seen it, benches with armrests in the middle to prevent anyone from lying down, or slanted surfaces that make it impossible to sit for more than a few minutes. While these are often designed to target the unhoused population, they make public spaces generally unwelcoming for everyone. If you make a space unloiterable, you are specifically hurting the groups who have the least amount of private space to retreat to. For girls, the message is clear: move along. Unless you are buying something, you don't belong here.
So, why does any of this matter? Why analyze the design of a bench or the disappearance of a mall? Because we are in a loneliness epidemic. Rates of anxiety and depression among teenage girls are at an all-time high. And while there are many factors, the loss of the third space is a massive, overlooked piece of the puzzle. Human beings are social animals. We need weak ties, those casual acquaintances you see at the local spot. They ground us. They remind us we are part of a social fabric that exists outside of our bedroom or our classroom. When girls are confined to the first space of the home and the second space of school, and their only third space is a digital one controlled by billionaires, they lose the ability to develop a sense of self that isn't tied to productivity or performance. We are losing the middle ground of life. So, how do we get it back? On a large scale, it requires demanding gender-sensitive urban planning. We need to advocate for spaces that aren't just pink versions of male spaces, but areas designed for the way women and girls actually move through the world. Think wider sidewalks for groups walking together, better lighting that feels safe rather than clinical, and public seating that encourages face-to-face interaction. Most importantly, we need non-commercial community hubs, places where you can sit for 4 hours and the only thing you're expected to do is exist. We need to stop viewing loitering as a nuisance and start viewing it as a civic right. The girls' girl movement and the soft life trend, these are more than just hashtags. They are reactions to a world that has become increasingly hard and inaccessible. We are craving a space that doesn't want anything from us. Until we prioritize the creation of non-commercial, safe, and accessible third spaces, the experience of being a girl will continue to be relegated to the digital void or the expensive cafe. And a community you have to pay for isn't a community at all. It's a transaction. Because at the end of the day, everyone deserves a place to go where they don't have to be a student, a worker, or a consumer. They can just be a person. If you're still here, I suppose you've found a temporary third space in this comment section. If you enjoyed this deep dive, consider hitting the like button. It helps the algorithm find other people looking for a place to exist. You can also subscribe for more essays on the intersection of fashion, sociology, and the general weirdness of modern life. I'd love to hear from you. Where is your third space? Is it a specific library corner, a park bench, or are you still searching for one yourself? Let's discuss it below, and I'll see you in the next one.